Hey, do you want to use AI to create thousands of recipe blog posts and thousands of recipe social media posts? It's incredibly easy with a couple clicks of a button. Let me show you how I did it. So I have this list of different blog posts I wrote using AI. Just one click, it created all these for me. I'm going to look at this spooky Halloween drink for kids as an example. Here is the blog post. So here's the image that the AI created, gummy worms and these plastic spiders and this green gel stuff. And then we have a completely customizable outline inside of here. We have another AI image with all the ingredients. So here's the actual recipe itself: lime sherbet, lemon lime soda, green food coloring, gummy worms, plastic spiders. This recipe is perfectly depicted by this AI image. And this recipe is laid out with all of the ingredients in this AI image right here. And then we have some final thoughts and some frequently asked questions. So again, this is a recipe for just one particular dish, this spooky Halloween drink. The image itself perfectly depicts the recipe, and then we have all the ingredients laid out. Now, some people would rather have a step-by-step approach. So let's look at the same article, okay? Now the AI came up with the recipe, so it's gonna be a little bit different in this article, but this is a step-by-step. So here's the recipe: orange juice, grape juice, lemon lime soda, ice cubes, and gummy worms. Now we'll have the step-by-step approach to actually make this drink. So we scroll down and we have gathered the ingredients. That's step one. Add ice to glasses, pour in the grape juice layer, pour in the orange juice layer, add soda and garnish with the gummy worms. So this is our step-by-step recipe blog post. Now we can take this one step further, no pun intended, and actually do a roundup post. So 10 best spooky Halloween drink for kid recipes. So we get 10 different recipes in here. So this is Witch's Brew Punch. And what's so powerful about what I'm going to show you is, and this is one of the problems a lot of people run into, having the AI image not really depict the actual recipe. I'm going to show you how we can get the AI image to actually depict the recipe ingredients. So we have this Halloween punch with lemon lime soda, sherbet, green food coloring, ice cubes, vampire blood smoothie. All right, this is with frozen strawberries, raspberries, beetroot, banana, Greek yogurt, ghostly green lemonade. We've got some eyeballs in there. The eyeballs are just plastic eyeballs. Pumpkin spice hot chocolate, Frankenstein fizz. We have lemon lime soda, sherbet, lime juice, green food coloring, gummy worms, and ice cubes. Candy corn mocktail. I don't know if I could do it. Could you do that? Pineapple juice, orange juice, heavy cream, ice cubes. I could probably drink that, yeah. Spooky spider cider. Say that 3 times. Slime juice. What is it? Like little slime balls in here. I think these are, yeah, tapioca pearls. How cool is that? And then a monster mash milkshake. Oh, and then a graveyard fog float. I made this entire article with just one click of a button. Let me show you how I do all this. So first of all, I use an AI writer called ZimmWriter. It's the AI writer that I created myself. And there's a lot going on in this application. This is not an overview of ZimmWriter. I have lots of YouTube videos on how to use ZimmWriter. So I'm going to dive into actually how I created these articles. I'm going to start with this spooky Halloween drink for kid article. So I went to the bulk writer and I put in my list of things I want to write about. So I have this spooky Halloween drink for kids. So that's up here. Then I want to generate a custom outline for this article. So I'll go to my custom outlines and I'm going to select, now you got to enter these yourself. You got to add these yourself. So this is the custom outline I built. You can pause the video and zoom in if you want to. So we have history. This is our first H2, our first subheading. And then we have a recipe subheading with a raw prompt. I'll show you that raw prompt in a second. And then we have a command to save the text. And then we have an image command that we want an AI image for this. And then we have another subheading called final thoughts. So we have history, recipe, final thoughts. That's exactly what we have in here. We have our history, our recipe, our final thoughts. So let me share with you the raw prompt that I'm using for this recipe. So I'll click on create raw prompts and I'll pull up the raw recipe. So this is the prompt I'm sending to the AI. Write a recipe, and you can read all about how to use raw prompts with this directions link up here. Write a recipe to cook a dish in the current subtopic. The recipe should start with 2 paragraphs. So that's what we have here. We have 2 paragraphs right here. After the 2 paragraphs, create a bullet list of ingredients without commentary. So here's our bullet list of ingredients. Then create a cooking instructions using 1 paragraph. That's right here. Then finally create 1 paragraph of extra tips the reader should know when cooking this dish. So we have a little bit extra. These are multiple paragraphs because we've broken this up to make it a little bit easier to read. But this is the prompt and this is what we got. And that will apply in our custom outline on this recipe step. Now we have this save text variable. I call these variables whenever they're encased inside of these curly brackets. And you can read all about these variables in the custom outline guide here. This is more of an advanced concept. So if you've never even used ZimmWriter, you're probably like, what in the world is he talking about? This is an advanced concept right here. But the custom outlines, incredibly powerful. What save text will do is save text will cause ZimmWriter to write this section, like on the back end. When the article is being generated, it will write this recipe section. This section right here, ZimmWriter will write it, and then it will store it in its memory. Then when it goes to create an image, we're going to use an image prompt that's going to retrieve that saved text. That's the saved recipe text, this right here. And that's going to give the image prompt context when it creates that image. So you might want to rewind the video and play that back one more time. So just to kind of recap, save text, it's a new feature inside of ZimmWriter that causes ZimmWriter to temporarily save the content that it wrote for this section into memory, and then we can retrieve that again in our custom image prompt. I'll show you how that works. And then we have this final thought section. So this is the outline we're using. And then we need to load our featured image model. So I'm going to use FluxDev. So there's FluxDev that's using FAL. And then we also want an image model for the subheading, and we'll also use FluxDev FAL. Now, we need to load our prompts right now. This is very important. So here's the, let's do the subheading image prompt first. So we'll click here and we'll load our prompt for this recipe ingredients. So this is the prompt that ZimmWriter uses to generate this image right here. You'll have to pause the video and copy this in if you want this prompt. This does not come with ZimmWriter. You can put your own prompts in. But there's three, I call them placeholders, three placeholder variables that ZimmWriter can use here. It can use title, which is the title of the article, which in this instance is Spooky Halloween Drinks. And this is the subheading that we're currently working on, which would be recipe. And the load text is simply loading the text that we saved. So our custom outline, we attached save text onto this recipe subheading, and that saved this content right here to the memory. It saved it all to the memory temporarily. And now we're retrieving that with this load text. When you use these placeholders, you literally just use these placeholders. You don't put something inside of here. You would literally type title in curly brackets or subheading in curly brackets or load text in curly brackets. ZimmWriter, when it creates the AI image, will dynamically replace this stuff on the back end. That makes sense? So here's the prompt. It would be the title of the article and then a dash and then the title of the subheading and then the text, which was written right here. And then it ends with this: write a prompt to generate a photograph without text of a wood countertop, top-down view, with all of the ingredients to make the dish laid out in an organized fashion. Use detailed visual language that is specific. The photograph should be high quality, like something you would find in a cooking magazine. By doing it this way, by having this load text in here, and this only works if we've had a custom outline and we saved the text. By having this in here, we get an incredibly accurate, all right, it's never going to be 100% perfect. We get a very accurate result here with the actual ingredients. We have the lime sherbet, we have the ice cubes, we have the gummy worms. We have, I guess maybe these are plastic spiders. Oh, plastic spiders over here. We have the lime juice. It's very accurate. So that is going to be our custom prompt for our images for our subheading. Now, we don't have to choose the subheading images here because we're designating an image for this particular subheading right here. The curly bracket image IMG is a special custom prompt that you can read about inside of here. Again, this is an advanced concept again, but you can read all about this in our custom outline guide. So now we have to go and add a custom prompt for our featured image. So go to our featured image. Now I have default prompts that work on the back end. So if you're new to ZimmWriter and this seems like complex, this is a complex thing that I'm doing right here. If you want to use AI images, you don't have to do what I'm doing. There's a built-in default prompt that ZimmWriter will just use. But if you're doing something like a recipe and you want the featured image to accurately depict what the recipe is, then you're going to want to use something like this. Okay. So we have title. All right. Now we don't have subheading anymore because we're working on the featured image. So we just have title and then the optional load text variable. ZimmWriter will generate this prompt after the entire article is written. So the text that it's loading is the very last instance of your save text variable in your custom prompt. So if you have saved text multiple times, it would be the very last instance of that. Or if you only have it one time, it would be that only instance. We're loading the text that was saved when we wrote this particular section right here. So write a prompt to generate a photograph without text for a recipe about the dish listed above. Okay. We have our featured image prompt loaded, our subheading image prompt loaded. We can disable conclusions, link this up to WordPress to automatically upload to WordPress. I did not use SERP scraping. I just configured some basic options over here. I used a higher end model. I used Claude Sonnet. And it's pretty good at following my raw prompt. If you use something like GPT-4o Mini, it might not do a good job of giving you exactly this. So just keep that in mind when you're writing. But yeah, I think those are the only settings. And then I just click Start Bulk Writer and it spit out all of these articles for me automatically uploaded to WordPress, like Candy Cane Christmas Punch for Kids. Look at that. Here's all the ingredients. Look at that. That's amazing. So you can look at all of these. If you go to my example test website called AI Blog Post Writer, you scroll all the way down and you can click on Tasty Recipes Plain. So there's the actual finished dish. There's the ingredients laid out, and then here's the actual recipe. So let's take this up a notch and look at how we did our step-by-step approach. I have two examples of steps. And again, I call this steps because in here you actually get steps to create these recipes. On this page, you'll see two steps. You'll see steps and steps advanced. So let me show you the simple steps first. So same thing, we go to the bulk writer and we'll click on custom outline, and I'm going to load a different custom outline. This time I'm going to load this custom outline right here. Let me copy it to Notepad so you can see it a little bit bigger. Can you guys see that? So this is the custom outline we're using. History, recipe, raw recipe, that's our custom prompt again, and then save text. So we're saving the recipe text right here. Now, this is where we get a little bit advanced. All right, cooking steps. So whenever we have a dash inside of a custom outline, that means this is going to turn into a heading, a subheading underneath this heading right here. So this is a second level. This is a second level heading. This is a second level heading. This is a second level heading. This is a third level heading. So an H3. Now we have step 1 right here. Now I don't know what dish we're working on. This custom outline is going to apply to all these different recipes. So we have spooky Halloween drinks. This step 1 is going to be different for this than it is going to be for strawberry cheesecake. So I have step 1, step 2, 3, 4, 5, but I'm using this special variable called optimize title. And what that will do is it will look at the article that it's writing and figure out the most appropriate title, subheading title, to rename this to. So let's go over here to our article, and we have the step 1 was gather ingredients and tools. So that optimized title caused this to turn into gather ingredients and tools. Optimized title caused this step 2 to turn into mix gelatin with water. Step 3, add juice and sugar, pour into serving glass, add spooky eye decorations. Now, you'll see that I have before each of these, this thing that says step 1, period, step 2, period. If you look over here, I have something special. It's called prepend. There's a special prepend variable, and you can prepend, and it only makes sense in a step context. You can prepend something before each one. So I'm prepending step 1, period, before this, prepending step 2, period, before this. And the reason I'm doing this, the reason I'm using this prepend variable is because optimized title will basically wipe this out. So this, whatever's in the prepend, is not wiped out by optimized title. That makes sense? Otherwise, if we're not using optimized title, we don't need this prepend. We can just put step 1, period, and then whatever the title is going to be. And then we're saying that we want an image for this and then an image for this. Now, this is really interesting right here. Let's go over here and look at I got to close our custom outline. So that's the outline we're using. Now we're going to use a different subheading prompt. So this is the prompt we're using right here. A prompt to generate a photograph without text for the step of subheading. So this is dynamically replaced. So the first subheading is going to be gather ingredients and tools. This would be write a prompt to generate a photograph without text for the step of gather ingredients and tools when preparing the recipe above. Now we're loading the text that was saved up here. So we're loading this text, and that text is the recipe. We're loading the whole recipe so that when ZimmWriter creates this image, it's going to have more context to create that image, more accurate description to create that image. And you'll end up, when we use this particular prompt, with something that's pretty fantastic. We have these step-by-step directions on how to make this recipe. Now, there's a slight problem with this approach. The problem is, and this is very nuanced right here, this optimized title does not know the recipe. So when we're saying to the AI, we want you to come up with the step one, the AI is just going to take its best guess based on the title of the article, this history, and like the actual word history, not the content, because it figures out these subheadings like at the very beginning before it's even written the article yet. So like the determination of the outline for the article is created at the very first step before any of those sections are actually written. So when it gets to here, the only thing the AI will know when it's trying to come up with this particular subheading title is Spooky Halloween Drink for Kids is the title of the article. And then we have an outline that looks like this so far. And so the AI is going to be told, you got to come up with 5 steps. What would step 1 be? So the AI doesn't really know what the recipe is. It has no idea what the recipe is. So it's going to take its best guess. So one of the problems can be, you could get a title here, gather ingredients and tools, mix gelatin and water. Like maybe this recipe actually doesn't use gelatin. Let's look at the recipe itself. Yeah, so there's no gelatin. So the AI took its best guess, said, hey, let's mix some gelatin. But that's not accurate for our actual recipe. So this is a way you can do it, but it's a flawed approach. So let me show you it. This is gonna be one more step, but it's the approach that you'll wanna take if you wanna do this perfectly. So this is the perfect version. It looks just the same, but the steps are actually gonna be correct for given the actual ingredients of the recipe. So gather ingredients and tools, add ice to glasses, pour grape juice layer. It knows that we're using grape juice because it knows the recipe now. I'm going to show you how we're having that take that into consideration. Pour grape juice layer, all right? Add orange juice layer, add soda and garnish. So I'll show you how we do this right now. This is the more advanced step, but it's the accurate way to do this step-by-step approach. So the first thing we want to do is make a custom prompt called recipe. It's going to be a little bit different. The formatting for how you should create it's going to be a little bit different, but in general, it's going to be very similar to your raw prompt. So we'll save this as custom prompt recipe, okay? So once we've done that, we'll click on AI Vault and we'll go to text discombobulator. And then we'll put in our list of titles that we want to write. So right now we're just doing Spooky Halloween Drink for Kids. And we'll choose that custom prompt recipe. We'll choose our model. We're going to use Claude Sonnet. And we'll give this a job name like recipe or something like that. Now you don't have to do anything over here. We're not messing with this right now. You'll create the discombobulated output and save to a CSV file. Now what you'll get is going to be a CSV file with our title, Spooky Halloween Drink for Kids, it doesn't look like much, but when you click on it, it's a lot more. So with your entire recipe in here. Now we don't want to do anything with this because Excel, if you're opening this in Excel, it like butchers the bullet points and the emojis and things like that. So we're actually going to not save it and we're going to import it into a spreadsheet in Google Sheets. Google Sheets can appropriately import the bullet points and all stuff like that. So we have our spooky drink for kids and our custom prompt result. Then what we want to do is go to ZimmWriter, go back to the bulk writer, click on SEO CSV, and we'll click on this Google Sheet template. You'll go here and you'll make a copy of it. So you can just go here, you'll click File, make a copy. Otherwise you can't edit this. And then you'll simply come over here, you'll delete all this, go back to our CSV that we imported, copy the different titles, the inputs, paste it right there, article title, and our background becomes this right here. So our background goes like right here. So I've done that for all these different recipes right here. So here's the article title, here's the background. I'm not going to input anything else. Now what I'll do is I'll click on Sheet 2 and I'll click on File, Download, CSV. You got to go to Sheet 2, File, Download, CSV. Then when you do that, you can go back over here and click Load CSV. I'll put our CSV file. So that will load. This grays out. Now what's happened behind the scenes is we still have our custom outline, right? We still have our style mimic. We still have all our settings. But ZimmWriter now, instead of taking the titles from in here, is taking the titles that we created from our CSV file. But in addition to that, it's also taking the recipe as background information. Why this is so powerful is when ZimmWriter goes to create these, to dynamically replace these steps it's going to use this recipe, this quote unquote background information to do it. Now, if you're doing this, if you're using the background stuff, you're not going to be using SERP scraping. You're not going to be using a custom background, the CGB variable. That's an advanced topic. We're not using those things. Those will replace what we're doing here. We don't want to do that. We just want to use the background here, okay? So just to recap, ZimmWriter will write the article now, but as it comes time to determine what step 1 is going to be, it's not going to rely just on this. It's also, on the back end, going to have the recipe itself for context. And so it will give you a much better step 1 than it would have if you didn't go through this extra step. Spend the extra time setting this thing up, because once you're done, you press go, you have 1,000 articles that are going to be generated for you. So it's a dramatic time savings to get something that's highly accurate and really good quality. The only thing, if you decide to go with the steps, is sometimes you can get different, like the glasses can be a little bit different. Like here's a glass here. I think it has some like different like beveled edges. Doesn't look like this one does. That's just, there's really no way to solve that conundrum. You're just going to get some differences between the different images. It just is what it is. But that's how you can do steps. Now let me show you the last thing, which is going to be our roundup, 10 best spooky Halloween drinks. So let me show you how to do this roundup right now. 10 best spooky Halloween drinks for kids, and it doesn't have to be 10 best, it can be 5 best if you want to. It doesn't even have to be best, it could just be 5 Marry Me chicken pasta recipes if you want to. But we'll put these titles in here. Now to write these, we're going to use a new custom outline. This is going to use a master raw prompt. This is an advanced concept, and everything we've talked about is advanced, but you can read about it in this custom outline guide. But let me close this for a second and explain how ZimmWriter works. So by default, without using a custom outline, ZimmWriter will just use AI to come up with the outline. So 10 best spooky Halloween drinks for kids, ZimmWriter will just come up with 10 drinks right off the top of its head. And for some of those, you could get bullet point lists. You might get tables for some. You're going to get a lot of variation between the layout for each of those subheadings. So we might get 10 best spooky Halloween drink for kids. We might get Witch's Brew Punch, but we might not get a list of ingredients in there, right? We might just get a couple paragraphs. And then it might give us Vampire Blood Smoothie, but it might then give us a recipe. So there's going to be a lot of non-standardization amongst the different subheadings. And that's not really what you want when you're dealing with recipes. When you're dealing with recipes, maybe you want a format like this, where you have 2 paragraphs discussing the drink itself, and then a list of the ingredients, and then how to prepare it, and then some extra tips or something like that. Maybe that's the format you want. In that situation, you'll want to use a custom outline. But what if you want to use that custom outline, but you still want the AI to come up with that list of things? That's where we can use a master raw prompt. So a master raw prompt means there's really no outline in here. The very first thing is a raw prompt. And what's going to happen is ZimmWriter will come up with all these different outline elements and then apply that raw prompt to each one of these outline elements, okay? So it's going to apply that raw recipe, raw prompt to this element. So it's a great way to allow the AI to come up with the outline, but then apply your own custom raw prompt to each of those outline elements. Now, the other powerful thing we have is the ability to add on other variables. For all of these 10 recipes, we're also going to save the text. So how it works from a procedural standpoint is ZimmWriter will come up with the outline, and then it goes to write this particular section right here. It will write this section using our raw recipe prompt, so it writes that, and then it says, oh, hey, he wants to save the text. So it saves all of this into a variable behind the scenes. And then we say, oh, hey, we want an image. And it's going to say, let's make an image. So here's our image prompt, and it will load the title of the article, which is 10 best spooky Halloween drinks for kids recipes. And then it will load the subheading here, Witch's Brew Punch. And then it will load the saved text for that, which was this stuff right here. And it will use all that to generate this image. Then it will move on to the next subheading, Vampire Blood Smoothie. So it will, let's go back to our custom outline. It will apply this raw recipe prompt to this to generate this content. And then save text is here. It will save all this to that temporary variable, overriding what was previously in there. Because every time you use this, it overwrites anything that was previously saved. So it will overwrite the previous data with now this data right here. It will generate the image and then use that load text to load this stuff. And we'll get something very on point that looks like it actually has. There's strawberries there. There's raspberries there. I don't know, are there maybe that's a beetroot back there. and then it will create the image and then move on to the next one. Ghostly green lemonade. Again, it will use the raw prompt to create all this stuff. It will save that all to memory. It will create the image using the load text, and it keeps going down. It knows to do 10 items because ZimmWriter is smart enough to say, oh, hey, you asked for 10 spooky Halloween drinks for kids, so it's going to give you 10. So that's how we can create our roundups here. You can go to this site, aiblogpostwriter.com, and look at the plain, look at the steps advanced, and then also the 10 best. There's examples for each of them. Really, really powerful stuff. Candy cane Christmas punch looks awesome. Now just be aware, if you start doing AI recipes, make sure you're disclaiming all your liability. Maybe you've talked to a lawyer. I don't think the AI is going to tell you to put bleach in or stuff like that, but just cross all your T's, dot all your I's. And honestly, I wouldn't necessarily want to be disingenuous and pass these off as I've actually created these. I think there's even room for a website that says, hey, these are all AI recipes. Try them out. Take a photo. Reply back with what they look like. We're interested in hearing if these are any good. Give us a thumbs up or thumbs down. I think there's definitely room for a niche like that. That would be very powerful, actually. So all of that is blog posts. Let's now switch gears a little bit and talk about social media. ZimmWriter also allows you to do amazing stuff with social media generation. So there's a feature in ZimmWriter that I have a video on called Social Media Scheduler. Now, this only works on WordPress posts. This is only for WordPress posts. But there's sometimes maybe you want to just create a Facebook page with thousands of posts related to recipes that don't necessarily sync up to an actual WordPress post. Maybe you just want to do a bunch of social media pages. Let me show you how you can do that. So we'll go over here back to the AI Vault. We'll click on Text Discombobulator. So remember how we were in here and we had our different titles. Now we can do the same thing. We can load our recipe prompt and we can give this a job name, recipes, and we can set our AI model for writing like Claude Sonnet. Now over here, we can take advantage of this new feature. This is different. If you're familiar with ZimmWriter, this is a lot different than the bulk image generator, okay? Bulk image generator is very different than this. If you click this directions up here, you can learn about the difference in this section, the right-hand AI image column. I talk about what the bulk AI image generator does, and then what the images with the text discombobulator does. Two completely separate things. So definitely read through this. But the long and short of it is, we're not loading previously saved prompts. There's a default prompt we're going to work with, and it's this right here. And you can modify this however you want. But there's 3 placeholders in here that are unique just to this right here. They don't work anywhere else inside of ZimmWriter. The 3 placeholders are input, output 1, and output 2. Input corresponds to a line of text right here. In this instance, we're doing recipes. So input would be this recipe. Again, placeholders, you put this exact placeholder in. You'll never come in here and do this. I never want to see you or hear of you doing this. This is not what you do. Placeholders are literally always going to be curly brackets and then the phrase input. Curly brackets, the phrase output 1. Curly brackets, the phrase output 2. So input corresponds to the input here. Output corresponds to the output that you would get from this prompt. And if you happen to use a custom prompt 2, you can use output 2, and that would correspond to this custom prompt 2 output. These are all optional. You have to use one of them, but you don't have to use all 3. You can just use output 1 and input if you want to. Or you can just say, you know what, I just want to use output 2, assuming you have a custom prompt 2. It's completely up to you what you use. There's a bazillion different contexts that I don't know your particular context or situation you're using this for. So this is very flexible. So this is the default prompt I give you that you can work with, and then you can choose the AI model for this particular prompt over here, turning this actually into an AI image prompt. So we'll use Claude Sonnet, and then the image model, we can use something advanced like FluxDev, and we can choose our aspect ratio like 9:16, for instance, and then we'll create the output. You'll end up getting something like this. We'll get our this is the input that we had, the line of input that we provided, and this is the custom prompt result. So this is our recipe. Come on. And then this would be the path. Now that we don't have I never used a custom prompt 2, so I didn't generate that. And this is the path to the image that was generated. So over here, we have this, it's like spaghetti or something like that. And that corresponds to this spaghetti bolognese. Is that how you say it? Spaghetti bolognese. So right now we have our title. the recipe from our custom prompt. So how do we turn this into some kind of social media schedule? Going to need a couple things. So the first thing we'll need is our social media scheduler. I'm going to be using Publer. Now Publer gives us this template to bulk import our social posts. It's a CSV file. We can create it inside of Google Docs, and then we can bulk import. So I'm actually going to close this because we're not going to copy from Excel because, again, Excel is going to possibly butcher the emojis and things like that. So I'm going to import the CSV that ZimmWriter created into Google Sheets. You can just go to File and then import the CSV on your desktop. And then we'll copy all of this stuff right here, all of these titles, assuming these are titles for your social media post. If they're not, then come up with your own titles. Maybe that could be your custom prompt 1. That's your title, and custom prompt 2 could be the actual recipe. It's up to you. But we'll go to over here and we'll put in our titles. So these are our titles right here for, again, this is the Publer default template for social media posts. So there's our title. Now we need the message. This is the actual text for our social media post. And again, we imported this to Google Sheets to retain all of the bullet lists. I don't think I have any emojis in here, but I definitely have bullet lists. So there's that. It's hard to see the titles because they're not centered. So let's center this stuff vertical align. There we go. So there's our title. There's our message. Now we need our media URL. The path is actually on my desktop. If you have this and you put it into here, it's not going to import properly. Publer is not going to be able to reach out to your desktop and get the images. So we need a way to make these accessible online so that Publer can access them via URL. I don't think you can do that with Dropbox or with OneDrive or something like that. So we need a more inventive solution. So if you have WordPress, you can do this with FTP also, but a lot of people don't know how to use FTP. So we're going to install this plugin called FileStar, File Manager Pro. It's completely free. So install FileStar, go to add new plugin, search for FileStar, install it, activate it. You'll see this thing over here called File Manager. You click it. Now what we want to do is we want to go to our WP content, click on uploads. We're going to right click somewhere that's empty and we'll click new folder. And we'll call this whatever, you can call it whatever you want. We can call it social underscore images underscore 2024 1009. I'll go in there and we will add our images. Now I'm just going to add a couple in here because I don't want to, for the sake of this video, I don't want to take too long, but it's uploading all the files right now. Now, I don't know what the limit is. I don't know if you can upload 1,000 at a time or something, but you can definitely upload a lot. So those are all in there now. And we'll right click on one and I'll click Get Info. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this part, not the public HTML part. I want to copy the / WP content all the way to the end of the image. Copy. Then I want to go to my front end and go to my site, which would be my site's designeraffair.com, and I'll paste that in. So paste in WP content, then all that stuff all the way to that actual image. And there's the image. The image is now on my site. So watch what we're going to do now. I'm going to take this portion here, all right? Not the recipes underscore 001 PNG, but I'm going to just take this first portion here and copy it. And I'm going to go over here to our sheet that we imported, our CSV file that we imported. And we will go over here to find and replace. So there's the path to the file, but there's no file name on here. It's just the path to all of our files. And then we want to copy the path here to all of the files, assuming they're all in the same directory on our hard drive. So there's the hard drive path, and this is the web path. I'm going to click, let's see, just replace all. Done. All of them should be replaced. Now, if we visit one of these, actually, we only uploaded the first couple images, so let's visit this one and see what we get. There's our image. Perfect. So now we can come over here and just copy all this stuff to our media URL. Again, I'll make this in the center so you can see it, but there's all our stuff right there. What we need now is our date, the social schedule date. Now, this could be easy or difficult. If you are doing one a day, then you just put your date in here. The date needs to be in this format. That's the format it needs to be in. So it's easy to create this and then just fill down if you're doing one a day. But if you're doing multiple a day, then it gets a little bit more tricky. How can you do that? So I built a cool tool. It's completely free. Go to my site, click on Secret Training, and come down here to Free Social Media Scheduler. You click that. And it brings you to this area here. You can say, when do I want the schedule to start? I want it to start tomorrow. How many a day do I want to post? Let's post 3 a day. Nice and simple. And then how many do we have? I think we have less than 100, so let's just put 100 in here. So we can simply take this schedule now and go over here to our sheet and then paste in our dates. Let's center this stuff. And there's our dates. So the only thing left now is our link. And I don't know where you want to link to. If you're doing Facebook posts, maybe you're not linking anywhere. Maybe you're just posting the image to get engagement on the page, but you can put whatever link you want in here. So this approach is a lot different than the social media scheduler approach, which is going to find the best times of the year to make a post and things like this. This text discombobulator can do a lot of things. It's not boxed in just to making social media posts. But it is possible, in this video I showed you, how to apply this technology for making social media posts. And so if you're like, how do I determine when to schedule stuff? I would just do it in sections for time of the year, for instance. Do all your holiday, your Thanksgiving stuff and your fall stuff right now, if it's fall. And then queue up all your summer stuff. And then go over here and say, you know what, I have all my summer stuff ready. I want to create the schedule. So you come over here and say, I want to schedule that starting in, I don't know, on April 10th or something like that. And then you have your schedule right now for 2025 starting in April. So this is a powerful, very flexible way to generate lots of social media posts with corresponding images. And this does not just apply to recipes. You could apply it, think outside the box. I'm sure you'll find a use case for this. It's not just limited to recipes. The text discombobulator works with just lines of text, whatever that line of text may be. It doesn't have to be recipes. So very powerful stuff. This was a long, training. There's a lot of meat in here. From an engagement standpoint, I like to make smaller or shorter videos because then people are more engaged. The algorithm likes that and all that stuff. But I don't know. I just had to get through all this stuff. There's a lot of power in here. What I showed you are very advanced concepts. So don't feel overwhelmed. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. It's really easy just to go into this bulk writer and just do something simple. You put your title in. You don't even have to do bulk with the bulk writer. You can just do one. You put your title in here and you just have a simple outline, something simple like this. You don't even need the recipe part in there if you don't want to. You just have this in here and you probably get some really great output. It's a very easy tool to use. Don't be overwhelmed by all the features and functions. But if you do have a question, jump on the Facebook group. There's over 13,000 members on there that can help you. I have tons of training. Oh, and keep jumping back. I want to share this with you. If you have not taken advantage of my completely free 8-hour course on building a website, why haven't you? Go to my page, click on playlists, and I have 15 videos on creating a WordPress website from scratch. Go through the course, niche selection, keyword research, domain name registration, hosting selection, WordPress setup, install, all that stuff. And at the end of the day, you'll end up with a site this is the site that I build online. So if you have not taken advantage of this and learned how to do it, then you should. This is the site I built. It's got like 700 articles in it and really cool stuff. It's all geared for Pinterest. So yeah, a lot of stuff. I don't even know where to begin. There's so much stuff that you can just chew on and a lot of meat here. If you have any questions, go to the Facebook group. There's all kinds of links down below, links to ZimmWriter, links to my course, links to all that stuff. Hey, that's it. Any questions, drop a comment down below, subscribe, all that great stuff. Good luck with your content generation, and I'll talk to you later.